Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back into my channel. So in this lab, we're going to talk about Elastic Network Interface, ENI. So basically, so ENI, see, so basically, to create an ENI, you could just go here, click on instances, and then as you here, you could just click here and start to launch an instance, because you have to have an, by the way, what is ENI? Okay, so introduction. So AWS Network Interface or Elastic Network Interfaces, AWS ENIs, or virtual network cards attached to EC2 instance that help facilitate network connectivity. For instances, having two or more AWS network interface connected to an instance permits it to communicate on two separate subnets. So now if you would, so basically an ENI is an AWS network interface or Elastic Network Interface. These are virtual private network cards attached to an EC2 instance that help facilitate networks connectivity for instances. So, and what that is having more than one AWS network interfaces network interfaces connected to an instance permits it to communicate on two separate subnets. So if you would click like, what does an ENI in the VPC mean? So AWS ENI, abbreviated as Elastic Network Interface, is a virtual network interface controller called NIC that is attached to an EC2 in a virtual private cloud. They are used to enable network connectivity for instances on the network. Now, if you click here, it gives you, this is the doc.aws.amazon.com website that speaks about ENI. So Elastic Network Interfaces, and Elastic Network Interfaces is a logical networking component in a VPC that represents a virtual network card. It can include the following attributes: a primary private IPv4 address from the IPv4 address range of your VPC, one or more secondary private IPv4 addresses from the IPv4 address range of your VPC. So it's one elastic IP address, IPv4 per private IP addresses. So one public IP address and one more IPv6 and one more security group, and a MAC address, a source and a destination, check flag in the description. So you can create and configure network interfaces and attach them to instances in the same availability zone. Your account might also be requester managed network interfaces which are created and managed by AWS services. So to enable you to use other resources and services, you cannot manage these this network interface yourself. So for more information, you can check here. But yeah, so these AWS resources refer to as a network interface in the AWS Management Console and the Amazon EC2 API. Therefore, we use network interface in the documentation instead of elastic network interface. The term network interface in this documentation always means elastic network interface. Let's kind of break down what that is. You can create a network interface, attach it into an EC2, detach it from an instance, and attach it into another instances. So the attributes of a network interface allow it as it's attached or detached from the instances, and we attach to another instances. When you move a network interface from one instance to another, network traffic is redirected into a new instance, into the new instance. Let's just talk about the primary interface, public IP, the elastic IP address, the V6 on them, the prefix, delegation, determination behavior, the source and destination check, and monitoring IP traffic. It speaks about network card. This is such an interesting topic. Not topic, but overview as a documentation. So IP address per network interface per instance type. So the following table lists the maximum number of network interfaces per instance type, the maximum number of private IPv4 and V6 per network interfaces. Network interface. The limit for IPv6 addresses is separate from the limit for IPv4 addresses. So it's pretty interesting. See here, so the memory optimize, storage optimize, accelerated computing, and what else? So these are the steps that shows you how to create an ENI. Let's open this, bang, 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 do this, click here, and create it. You could also use the whole console to do that. This is the new console. It's pretty neat. So let's just go ahead and start create this. So first thing and foremost, we're going to create two instances and perform the ENI today. Let's just choose this image with a keeper. I could choose the existing one if I want to. I can create a security group, or if I want to, I can select some existing, my web server group. Yep. And what else? Let's go on advanced. Elastic interface. Okay, so now let's create these two instances. Number of instances 2. Now let's launch. Okay, so it says that successfully, let's view our instances. Now we have these two instances is being created. So, and they both are on pending states. Just give it some time. Okay, so now they both are running. So let me click one. Now you see the instance ID is this ID, right? and the IPv6. So the IPv6, and it shows the auto assigned IP addresses. It's the public one. Now 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 down here, now in networking, you have network interfaces down here, and the network ID is right there, right? So each of these instances has their own network ID number. Like you could tell, this is the network ID number for these instances. It's a 4. So there go the network ID number for this one. Now, if we select this one and we move that, sorry. Now this one has its own network ID number too, right? So one is 8D and one is 2B. The last the last digits of it. Now we have both of these. Let's see if I can scroll a little bit more just to show you. This is the network ID for this instance. And let's deselect that. Let's select this one here. And if we go to security, not security, but networking, and there go the network ID number for this one too. So they both have the network ID number. Not the network ID number, but the ENI, which is the ENI, which is the Elastic Network ID. So both have their own network ID number. And they have, by the way, just back out and show you something. Click on instance. Let's say I select the first one and I go to networking, and there go the, sorry. So there go the ENI for this server. I could give it a name if I want to, right? Let me call this my web server 1. My web server 1, right? And let me call this my web server 2. Okay. Now if I refresh, let's see if it's gonna display the names with them. For instances. Okay, so both of them is being, so that everybody would see. Now when I talk about, let's select my web server 1 and let's click on networking. Now, and let's just shrink this as a as you will do in an express word. It's an express in an excess spreadsheet to say. So there go the ENI number for server 1. Now, if you scroll all the way here, you see that the description is empty. The IPv4 prefixes is empty, and this v62 as well. Now, on IPv4, it contains an IPv4 addresses, and it have a private and a public IPv4 address. Now, so we have two instances, right? We're gonna have two different network interfaces. So if you go in to the left as we do, right? We also going to have the network interfaces. So we have to find, now we have these two instance ID and the network interfaces ID, which is two of it. If you scroll all the way down, we have the attached time. So everything is tracked down. The private IP v4 in the DNS. Now the status here says attached status is attached. The VPC ID is this one. Subnet ID is here. The lead on terminal is enabled. Security group, a web server. Now there go the interfaces type, elastic network interfaces. So scroll all the way. So now, if you go here, so we have two of it. Let's say if we scroll all the way down, right? So we have both. They have the security group. They're on the same security group. They have the same key pair. They launch at the same time. But what I'm kind of looking for is that they're on the same availability zone. I'm looking for status. Oh, sorry. Launch time. Okay, so the alarm. So status is status check. They check, they pass the status. So public IP. So instance states they're running, right? So the status check, they here. So now let's go ahead and create the network interfaces for both of them. So where the network, to create the network interface, all you got to do is just go on the left-hand side here and scroll down all the way down to where you see network and security. So then you scroll down at the bottom of key pair, this here says that network interface. So you'll go here and click here. And as you could tell, what we have looking at from the instance page, you could look here and see it too as well. So it shows you the network ID, the network interface ID, the subnet ID. Oh, sorry. I don't mean to click that. So I don't really need that. So that's the for VPC management console. So AWS is very user-friendly. Honestly, it is. I love it. So you have the VPC ID, you have the availability zone, you have my security group. See if I can scroll. Yes. So you get the security group ID, you have the interfaces type. It's elastic network interface, right? The description. Now on the ID here, right? You have the ID, the instance ID number. Both of them have the instance ID, and they both are different from each other. The status says that it's in use, and they both have a public IP address. You see what the gap is from this, from server one IP address to this IP here, even though that the both of them are created together, but they both inherit a random public IP address. So one is that 100.24.3.248, and one is just 52, and that 2. So primary, secondary, owner ID. Okay, so let's just go ahead and create this network interface. So let me call this test dot ENI. You can give it any name you'd like. If you want to, you could call this test elastic, network interface, right? And Now you make sure that you choose a subnet for that. Now let's see which subnet that appropriate for these. So what I can do is, let me just copy this. Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me just copy this. Sorry. Come on. Okay. Copy. Let me just copy this and paste this here. Hit enter. Let's make this bigger and come out just one step. Now let's go here. The availability zone is on East US 1A. So the subnet ID is what? Let's see if I can see it. I would rather use the subnet ID of server 1. Let's see. Okay, do I have the subnet ID? The subnet ID is F9FC. So let's see. You're gonna want to make sure that, so that's this one here, 9FC. You're gonna want to make sure that you put it on the same availability zone, and the subnet ID, they have to be appropriate for the one that you created. So then what you want to do is that you're gonna leave the private IPv4 address. If you want, you could create a custom IP address, and if you want, you could do that the auto assign. Now in this case, I'm going to leave this auto assign. Now we group down here, right? Group ID, the wizard. So we're gonna have to we can leave this group as the group ID number. Then we can select this. Now there goes somebody owns by default. Let me see on the security group. If we security group, the group ID, it's on security group. And I want to make sure that we grab everything. So the security group ID is BF88. So let's go here. See if we have the BF88. Let me see that BF88. Is that B588 or BF88? Let me see. So it's B588, not BF. I'm sorry. So it's B588. So it's this security group. As a matter of fact, we give it a name, so we shouldn't be struggle to find it, because we call it my web server group. So then after attach this one to it, and one of it is come by default, we're gonna disregard that. So let's just go ahead and create our network interface. So now our network interface is being created, right? So we have these. If you scroll all the way down into primary private IPv4 addresses. So we can do this, that we can attach this into our instance. So we can attach like one of those, like this one is available, right? So we can attach this one into our instances. Just select this. I don't mean to select all of them, but just this one. So the way to do that, all you gotta do is just go to Action and click Attach and choose which instance that you would like to attach into this. As you can tell here, I have my web server 1 and my web server 2. So I would want to select my web server 1 and show you something. So attach. And now my web server is being attached to this. So now if I back out, let's say I go here. Let's say I click on instances. Just go on both of the instance. So now let me select one and show you something. Let's just move the monitor. Let's select one. So networking, you see how it shows that a network interface. So this this one has two network interfaces, right? You see it says network interfaces is 2. So, and one of them has the primary one, which give us a public IPv4 address. Sorry, let's back out. Which give us a public IPv4 address. So a public IPv4 address, and one of them have the primary one, which give us the public IPv4 address and a private IPv4 address. So, and this test that Elastic Network Interface give us a secondary private IP address. So let me show you what I mean by that. See if I can back out a little bit. So there we go. So a public IPv4 address and two private IPv4 address. Let's see, network interface. So there go what I mean. So one public IPv4 address. So this one here is the one that have the ENI attached to it. As you can tell, so the test that Elastic Network Interface that I give is attached to server 1. You could tell, right? It have a private IPv4 address. So why should you do this? If you would question, well, this ENI, which is Elastic Network Interface, we have control over, so we could take it and we could actually move it from one instance, one EC2 instance to another. Imagine that we have two instances are running on the same application, and we want to access them using the private IPv4 address Then we can move the ENI over, and the reason for doing so is that we can do a very quick and easy network failover between the two instances by moving the ENI, because we can attach on IPv4 from one instance to another. So, by the way, let's go ahead and do the demo. To show you real quick. So if we go here to the ENI, to the portal, we click action, and we could detach one instances, and let's just refresh. Now, if you go here, you can see where, this is still show here because it's still showing that the server one is still in use. But as soon as we refresh, now if you go back here, right? And if you would refresh, now let's select server one. And if we go to networking, now you can tell there's the difference, right? So it's no longer appear as two network interfaces, right? As it was earlier. So let's just back out of here. And so it says this one is still in use. Let's just refresh this real quick and show you something. Pretty sure it should be good. Okay. So it says this available, the network interface that we created is available. So let's just go ahead and attach it to a different instance. So we could click attach. Now remember earlier we attached it to server one. Now we could attach it to server two. That's for demo purposes. Let's go ahead. Now there goes server two. Now we attach it into server two and just click attach. Now bingo, it should be attached to server two right away. So now if you go here, see. So now it's on server two. And proof of that, if we go here and refresh, so go server two, disable, key, bang. Oh, let's go back out. Let's create that. And there go, we have network interfaces is two. And server two with its ENI number has this IP attached to it. So see if we click here to show you something. My web server, I have a VPC ID. It's on the availability zone. It's 1A. It has a description of C. And this is PC2, right? Server 2, right? So it has the test that the name that I give for the network interface just being attached to it. Showing you everything here. Network interface ID, the source, name, the description is the name that I give to it. There we go here. And all the details and everything that you need to get attached to it. So we can choose either any one of the instances that we want to attach into the network interface that we created. So just back out of here. Now you see that, I mean, all the three of it says in use. And now you have the private IP address. Let's go back out. Show you something. So that's something you have to practice on your own. So let's terminate them to see what happened. I'll show you something. Let's terminate both of the instances to see what happened. So they are shutting down, and so now the ENIs, what do you think is going to happen? So we're going to have 3 ENI right now. 2 were created alongside my EC2 instances. That's the ENI. Let's go ahead on the ENI. Let's refresh. So what's going to happen is that's the ENI that I created. Let's just refresh this again. Whereas the 2 other ENIs that were created alongside the instances are going to be automatically deleted. So by creating your own ENI, you have control over your private IPv4 and more control over your networking. And that could be very helpful in some type of advanced use cases. So we can see when the ENI is gone, the others, one should be gone very soon. And that's it. So check this out. The 2 ENIs that was created when we were making our instances, they both are gone. But as for the one that we have created, I mean, by hands-on, it stays. So that should consider as a failover in case that your web server will crash. You still have one as a failover that should take over in the case of failure when the EC2 instances that were created were to be crashed. You could tell that I create an ENI, I give it a name test dash elastic network interface, which is ENI. That's what this is stand for. So I terminated I terminated 2 instances, but these ENIs, these 2 instances that were having 2 ENI attached to them automatically, they're gone, but the one that I'm making, it stays. So there go the proof of that. There go the one that was created. So it stays. So guys, this could be very helpful in case if you wanna, have control of your networking system and create failover, just in case if your primary or backup were to be crashed, you still have a failover that should kick in the case of something in that kind. So thank you so very much. Stay tuned for another lab configuration. I'm happy to be able to explain these things to you. So as we explain them, we're learning them too as well. I'll see you soon in another, in another lab. All right, bye-bye.